Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm on Mr. Nichols today. And once we get by these goats, because you never know what the goats are going to do, we're going to start talking about the Pacey and Trotty horse, the horse that does both of those things. So, good going by the goats. Good job, buddy. All right. So, Mr. Nichols here will pace or trot, and then he can also, of course, gait. His gait is in between, but when he's loose, he mostly chooses to pace or trot and not to gait. Okay, and a lot of horses can be like that, and it doesn't mean they won't have a very nice gait. It just means you're going to have to help them a little bit to get it. So as this guy goes, and I've said this before, he's built a little downhill. He has a lower head carriage. It's not very high. So each horse is a little bit different. That's not what's making it pacey. You know, it's just his genes and what he got from his parents and grandparents and all of that. But I'm just explaining his conformation a little bit, that he's low-headed and he can get a little heavy on his front end. So horses that are pacey, they're lazy and they're low-headed, those are the horses that can trip a little bit more because they kind of drag their toes and they don't pay attention. So when I'm riding them and I have a choice, if I have uneven footing like this, which I just pushed them onto, I want to work them on that because you want to make sure they're paying attention and picking up their feet, but you also make sure that you're sitting back and you're not riding on a big loopy rein like this. Good boy. He's like, what are you doing? You don't want a big long loopy rein, especially you're going over holes and stuff like this. You want to make sure that horse is paying attention, and you want to help them when you're going over holes and things, because again, you can see it, you're kind of focused on everything in the front, and the horse can see everything mostly around it, so he's seeing lots of things. So sometimes if they get occupied with like a goat or something that's on the right or behind them, they'll actually be paying attention to that more and not their footing. The fact that they can carry us at all while they're seeing all those things is amazing. So we want to help them. So when you ride and you're riding on the trail or down the road, let's go back over on this stuff, Mr. Nichols. When they're a little pacey, it's going to get worse as you go downhill. That's when you're going to feel them kind of waddle a little bit or move side to side, or people tell you your horse looks like it's drunk. That's because it's pacing, okay? And horses are not the only thing that do that. Dogs do it, elephants do it, hyenas do it. There's lots of animals that do it if you start watching them all, okay? So it's a gene that they have that gives them that gait. And the pace, although many people tend to hate the pace, is a good thing, because without that pace, you wouldn't have much gait. So if your horse is gaited, it's in there somewhere. And it might not be a hard pace or anything, but it has that lateral gene to it, which means going towards the pace. So there's goats over there to the right. Okay? So the pace, it's good to have a little pace and it's good to have a little trot, because then you can get a lot of gaits in between. Okay? So as you go down the hills, you don't want to go too fast when you have a pacey horse, because you know they won't be as sure-footed because they're kind of dragging their feet and they're kind of waddling side to side. So what I have found what works best, and I've ridden these horses for now over 20 years, is that you kind of, you keep some light contact, you keep them right in between your hands and your legs, and you try to keep them straight. If they're having problems, you can serpentine. Say they're having a problem going down the hill. The serpentine helps to separate their legs, and it also makes it easier for them to get down the hill. So this isn't hard, I'm just showing you. So the serpentine, you just go back and forth, and that's why you practice in the arena. So when you need it out on the trail, it's really easy to do. Okay? So now we're just kind of holding him together, because if I just let go of the reins and let him put his head down, besides getting crooked, now he's looking all around. He's like, maybe I'll find something to spook at, because now I'm going to look. They start waddling more, okay? And you'll get that little soft bounce, but that means your horse is pacing. So again, you can avoid that. You can stop it, and if you ride him correctly all the time, you can even make it go away if you get that horse conditioned well, okay? So help them go down the hills, and then they won't get so pacey. Now when you go uphill, that makes them a little bit more on the trotty side. So a pacey horse, that will help their gait when you're going uphill. So that's when you're trying to work on their gait and increase their strength, or if you're trying to pick up speed, you want to do it on a slight incline, not a decline. Now, if your horse was a little bit different, it was too trotty, or trotted down the hills, then you could go a little faster down the hill. So now let's talk about footing. So pacey horses go better in deep footing because they have to lift their feet higher and it separates their legs. But when they're on the road like this, they know they don't have to lift their feet up very high, and they tend to skim them right above the ground. So that's why if you got a barefoot horse and you're riding down the road, you might be like, my horse has no toes, because it's dragging its toes if it's pacing. Okay, now we got some goats on the left. He's doing fine, but they're kind of hiding in the shade. So what you're trying to help that horse with is, you know, when does it pace and when does it trot, and what can you do to try to help it? So going down hills, if it's pacey, to slow down, serpentine, half halt, keep it on its back end and stay slower. If it's going uphill, you probably are letting it bring its head up too much and it's inverting its back and not using itself. So when you're going uphill, you want to keep their head down if they're really too pacey. This guy is the one. Let's get across the street first. This is the guy that I said you got to find his sweet spot. When you find it, his gait is great, but we don't want his head too low. Look how fast they're going. Don't worry about the little cow in the back. Right? Nobody rides back there, so they don't know what it feels like. Let's go across. So try to drive slower with your trailers. Very bouncy back there, and they don't have arms or anything to hold on to. All right, so each horse is different. You kind of got to find their sweet spot, where to put their head, and how much do you need their back relaxed to help you to get that gait. So this guy, as we go faster, I like his head up a little bit because that's where he's the smoothest. So the horses that are trotty go better on the road than the horses that are pacey, but the horses that are trotty and pacey usually do pretty well on the road. So let's see. So again, I said the sweet spot with his head is kind of about horn level. Now we're going to add a little leg. So this is about his flat walk, okay? So you see his head going up and down, listen to his feet. He's a little nervous because we haven't been over here in a while. Okay, now let's go a little faster. Now if I just let him go, he's trying to canter, so we want to keep a little pressure on his mouth, but his head carriage is fine. Remember, if they spook, it helps you rack. So if he spooks, I don't care, but he's not. Now this horse is lazy, but look how much he can move out. Now if they get that little hoppy step, you can pick your hand up and kind of raise their head up, or you can slide the bit. Either of those things will usually work. But he's quite smooth here with his head up, which you would think, well, if he's pacey, that would make him pacier. But again, he's pacey and trotty. So he kind of switches, and this is a little bit harder. At least if you have just pacey, you're like, oh, it's just one thing I got to do. But if there's trotty, you're like, well, now he's pacing, now he's trotting. So you got to figure out where to put your weight, what helps them the most, where to put their head, and how much relaxation in their back, because that's where their gait is coming from. It's actually their back. Of course, their legs are moving, everything's attached, but it's their back that's causing them to pace and to trot. Okay? So see that little canter step? A lot of the Kentucky mountains and Rockies will do that because they canter so easily. Now he's like, I can't make out what that is. It's just the tractor, and he's seen lots of tractors, but he's not making it out, so we're just letting him stop and look. All right. Let's go follow it. Right? Now if your horse again gets a little nervous, it gives them more energy, so it's a good time to practice the gait to follow the things. They'll get a little amped up, and it's a little bit easier to get them to go. But see, even with his head up, he's quite smooth. So it's much easier, again, if you start with their, make sure they have that first gait first, that flat walk. Because if you don't even have a flat walk, well, then it's going to be much harder to get their next gait, or you're going to always have to go through the pace or the trot to get it. And why would you want to do that? It's nice just to have a walk, a smooth gait, a smooth gait, a smooth gait. Just keep going. So now this is his head a little bit lower, and he's still quite smooth. And then if we let him pop it up and I just let go, he's looking at the ponies. Now some of these horses, the Rocky and Kentucky Mountain, as they do their gait, you can look at the ponies. As you do their gait, they will get a little hop in their step. So sometimes they're doing what's called a little, come on. Sorry, car's coming in the ponies right there. They'll do a little gait lope, a half canter step, and other times they're doing like a, what I call a hopping gait. They're doing the correct footfall and everything, but they're kind of hopping side to side. So there will be a little bounce in the saddle, and depending on the horse, you better be paying attention to this big truck, dude. Depending on the horse, sometimes, you know, that's the best gait you're going to get out of them, even though they have that hoppy step, just because of their breeding and conformation. That's the way they move, and it's still a fun gait. So again, if you're not sure, is it a step pace, is it correct gait, you know, what's this hop going on, try to get a videotape of it and slow it down, or you know, you can send it to me, and then you'll be able to see what the horse is doing. But sometimes he will have a little hop in his step, but it's still super fun gait. All right, so a lot of these Rockies and Kentucky Mountains will have both the pace and the trot. Now some horses will just, again, gait, and that's all they do, and that's great. But you know me, I'm always getting horses that don't just gait, because that's why people need help with them. So thank God for that. All right, so now we're going downhill. He's doing fine. He's not waddling yet, but we'll see as he goes down the hill. We're going to push him over on the grass in case a car comes. The ponies are off to the right. You probably can't see them. He sees them. And right now he's occupied as the one is walking over, but he's not waddling. Okay, and he was kind of waddling in the beginning, because a lot of the horses that are pacey do that when they're not really warmed up yet. Okay, so if you got a pacey horse, lunging, round pending it, running around, all those things will help your horse's gait, because they'll be warmed up, and then they also won't be as kooky because you got that some of their energy out, and therefore they won't usually be as high-headed and inverted with their back, because they're not as spunky. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to do any groundwork or anything else, but it does help your horse's gait. Imagine that. So helps their attitude and their gait. So if they're pacey, it's a good thing. Get some of that out. All right, so right now he's pretty good. So a horse like this, you'll see he's moving for me pretty well, but he'll fake it with a lot of people because he's lazy that he can't move. So you want to make sure you got a lazy horse, you keep him awake. Give him little jobs to do, like a little leg yield over here, a little leg yield over there, then go faster. Try not to just walk slow the whole time, because that's what a lot of people do. You know, and if you're going with slow people, quarter horses, try to go ahead of them or fall behind them and tell them, hey, I'm gonna walk some, and then I'm gonna gait, and then I'm gonna walk some, and then I'm gonna gait, and you just kind of keep circling around them, and do it either far enough ahead or far enough back that it doesn't piss their horses off. And that way your horse will stay awake. But a lot of you're just riding on a loose floppy rein, you're riding with quarter horses, and you know these horses are not bred to go with quarter horses, but everybody wants to ride them with quarter horses, and then you're going as slow as the quarter horse because they got that shorter stride and you got a bigger stride, and your horse gets bored. When it gets bored, it falls asleep, when it falls asleep, it starts tripping. So you want to keep giving that horse jobs to do. Stop, back up, stop, do a turn on the forehand, you know, walk a little bit, stop, do another turn on the forehand, so you're going back with the people you were. You know, do turn on the haunches, do some rollbacks, do some circles. Give your horse jobs to do, because otherwise these horses get bored, because walking is just way too easy for them, and they just start falling asleep. And I've seen it with walk-in horses, Rockies, all the breeds, foxtrotters. So if you got a trippy one, think, am I riding too slow this entire time? Is this horse asleep? Am I on a loose floppy rein and he's not paying any attention to where we're going? Because a lot of times you do that because they're not spooky, and then it gets you in trouble. Okay? Alright, so back to the Pacey trotty horse. So now we're going downhill, and this horse, his ligaments give some. Each horse is different, so as I'm walking, you might see it or you might not, but you can feel it. You'll feel all of a sudden his leg gives a little bit. Nothing's wrong with him. He just has a little bit longer pasterns, and they tend to give some at times. But he doesn't fall down or anything like that. He's great. But it's something to know, so you're not paranoid that something's wrong with him. Okay, that's not a sign of EPM as far as I know. So, but some horses, just when you ride them, you just feel their ligaments kind of give here and there. And then people think something's wrong, and I go, no, it's just a gaited horse with a longer pastern. So now he's a little nervous. Look how well he's gaiting. Now, if he goes too fast, he almost got too fast. So I don't have much contact. Now he's getting too fast, so now he's starting to waddle a little bit and go more towards a pace. So all I did was pick up more contact and half halt on him. Now some of you, as you ride them, or you're riding with other trainers who think they understand gaited horses, but they don't exactly get it. And they go, it's just a horse, you just ride it like every other horse. You really don't. And it takes all of us a long time to figure that out, right? We're like, yeah, I'll just get his head down, collect it, and it'll gait. Well, some will and some won't. So each horse is different, and some of these horses, if you get their heads down too low and over collect them, you actually mess their gaits up. You just make a pacing horse with its head down. And so we do have to ride them sometimes with their head up. We do have to ride them sometimes with their head down. We need to be able to adjust them, and each horse is different. Okay? So if your friend has a horse and she has to ride it with its head down to get its gait, it doesn't mean you do. Okay? It depends if your horse is trotty, pacey, and what it is doing and where it is doing it, and how you adjust them. That's why the more broke they are, so you can pick their head up or down, you can get them to relax their back and tense it up, the more it will help you with their gaits. And the more you understand that and know how to ride and get those things, the more it will help you with their gaits. Okay? So if you don't know how to ride and you got a trainer helping you who doesn't understand gaited horses, don't get me wrong, they can teach you a lot. They can teach you lots of things about the horses, but just know when you get to the gaiting part, you might need more help. Or your trainer might need guidance, because they might end up just making your horse pace or step pace with its head down. Okay, we're up at the alpaca, so we're going to take a little break here. So they're back. Okay. So again, when they're pacey and trotty, usually if they're pacey, you bring their head down, and usually if they're trotty, you bring their head up, because that inverts their back when their head's up, and when you bring their head down, they round it. But it's also the relaxation in the horse. So if you just bring its head down but it's tense, it'll just do a pace or a step pace with its head down. You need the back and neck actually relaxed and not overarched. Okay? So the same thing when you're bringing the head up, if the horse is lazy but it's still kind of rounding its back out, you might not get that gait, and you might have to raise its head way up. Okay? So you have to try different things to try to get it. But now if you take lessons, learn all the basics so you have a foundation to build on, and then you can work on the gait. But learn just how to steer, how to bend, how to leg yield, do shoulder in, all your turns and all of that. And then that will help you when you're ready to gait, you can contact me and I can give you an online lesson and help you get that gait, okay? So, all right, so now we're walking. He's not really waddling at all. Okay, so see how he's warmed up and now he's not waddling. He's moving pretty good. He's a little nervous with all this stuff going on. Let's see if the car comes this way. No. Okay. All right, so if your horse paces and trots, its gaits are in between those two things. So usually if you're trotting or you're pacing, you're going too fast and you have to adjust the horse's head and neck. So if your horse is pacing, you want to slow down, bring its head down, and then try doing some leg yielding or shoulder in, moving its hindquarters. Think of going sideways a little bit, and sometimes that's enough just to separate its legs. If your horse is trotting, sit back a little bit more, raise the horse's head, half halt, and slow it down, and that'll usually get it out of the trot. But then be aware also, are you going uphill or downhill? Are you on hard ground or soft ground? Because again, you have to adjust for those things too. So if you're on hard ground, that's going to help the trotty horse. If you're on hard ground, it might make it harder on the pacey horse, and you might have to go slower. But you'll be able to ride faster at the beach than the horse that's trotting, okay? Because that's deep sand. And the trotty horses can go faster on the hard footing because it's easier for them, okay? But the pacey horses start swinging more and being lazy on the hard stuff. So you just gotta keep thinking, what does my horse do? And what kind of footing am I on? And then also, am I going uphill or downhill, okay? So if your horse is really pacey, what's the worst things for you? Going downhill fast on hard footing. Okay, that's really going to make your horse pacey. What's going to make your horse really trotty? Going uphill on deep footing or something that has lots of rocks, because that separates the horse's legs more, or mud, okay? So those things are going to make it hard. So those are the things you have to figure out what you're on. So I'm on hard footing right now. I have a horse that doesn't like this sign. And then again, he's pacey and trotty, so you got to speed up and see, well, which one is he doing right now? Well, he's just gaiting, so I don't have to do anything but steer. Isn't that nice? Here his feet. Now there's speed bumps, slow down. You never know if they're going to catch their foot. Now here he goes with that little canter step, so you just kind of pick their head up a little bit more, or slide the bit. So you have two things you can do, and you can do both those things if they keep cantering. Now he's going faster, and he's going just a little bit more towards a step pace, and we're starting to go downhill. So I'm going to slow him down, half halt. So now he's still smooth, but if I stayed that other speed, he would have started to get more and more pacey. Now we're really going downhill, so now we're going to slow down, okay? You don't want to run down the hill, bounce all over their back, pace, and then when you go up the hill, they stay in that same football, and then they pace up the hill. So pacey horses go slow down the hill, make sure you're completely walking with a 4-beat footfall. When you get to the bottom, stay slow, and then when you start going uphill, you can speed up, okay? The trotty horses can do the opposite. They can go a little bit fast downhill, and as you're going uphill, slow it down a little bit, because otherwise your horse might trot or it might start cantering. So if you want to keep its gait and build its strength and speed, you got to stay slower. And that's hard, especially when you say you got a group of gaited horses and everybody's flying. Well, that's why horses are trotting and pacing and doing all this stuff, because you're not adjusting for the footing and where you are, and you're just trying not to get killed because everybody's running. And with that, there's not much you can do except don't ride with those people. So if you want your gait, you got to work with people who want to work with it, and it'll help you. So if you have a pacey horse and your friend has a trotty one, That'll help, because sometimes the horses feed off of each other and they'll hear that footfall and they'll start changing their footfall a little bit. But just know both of you are going to have to slow down in different spots to help each other. Okay, so right now it looks flat, but it's not. It's still going downhill, so I don't want to speed him up yet because I know he can get a little pacey. You want to wait until it's completely and starts going uphill, and that's right by this pole. Here comes the big truck. So we're just trying to get off the road a little bit. Alright, so we got these ponies, so as I speed up, these guys probably are going to be goofballs. Right? Because that's what ponies do. So see how we sped up? That's us. He's really moving. There's one pony that's rolling. Or stuck. Now he's doing that little hoppy step, so I'm going to pick his head up because he's getting tired. And I knew you were going to do that, you little butthead. He's getting tired. Now they're running. And so now he's gotten antsy, and it's somewhat of a smooth gait, but it's more pacey because he just got antsy and tensed his back up, and that's why the gait changed, okay? So now that he's antsy, what am I going to do? Because he's pacey, I'm going to bring his head down, try to push him over, and get him out of it. Don't keep riding him like that, because then he's just going to keep pacing. Now the ponies are still running behind us. But you see, he didn't do anything bad. Nothing bad at all. He just went a little forward because those ponies are running. And he's like, why are you guys running? Should I run? That's just normal. But if my reins were loose and floppy and I wasn't paying attention, my horse would have just ran. I gotta tell him, no, they're just a bunch of idiots trying to get you in trouble. And don't you pay attention to them, because you'll get in trouble. Now we got more ponies up here. It's like the pony affair. Right? But now he's gaiting pretty well. He's not waddling. He's not pacing. And now he's like, I can run downhill because now I got on the trotty side. So let's see how far he can go before he gets pacey. Now, I have a wiggle in the saddle because he's doing a saddle gait, and it got a big wiggle now. So I'm slowing it down a little. Listen to the football. Just a little bit shorter than it was going uphill. Still 4 beats. And we got a speed bump, so we got to slow down. But he was still gaiting well. And remember, when I came out and I was going downhill, what was he doing? He was pacing because he wasn't warmed up. Now he's warmed up. He's a little excited. He's got his back relaxed, and he's like, look at all the stuff I can do, Gaye. I can run downhill now if you want to run downhill. I'm like, okay, fun for me. But I'm not just going to flop the reins like this. You know, he might be fine for a while. Now look, he's speeding up. Now we're getting a little pacey, so that's a thing that people don't realize. Just keep your reins a little shorter. You don't have to pull on them unless they start changing. And then if they start changing, you want to help that horse, because if your reins are long, it takes too long to do it. By the time you're pacing, then you got to slow all the way down to get out of the pace. Okay? Now this is steeper, so we don't want to run down this because we don't have studs or anything on his feet. So the pacey trotty horse will change as you're riding out here. It will change what it's doing depending on its tension in its back, depending if the horse is excited or not, and depending if you're going up, downhill, flat ground, hard ground, incline, declines, you know, deep footing. There's all these things. So if you have one, you have to learn that, and you have to understand it, and then you kind of have to play around and start noticing what your horse does more. Pay attention, stop talking to your friends so much, and start concentrating on what your horse is doing so you can help it. Okay? But these are great horses. Mr. Nichols is a super fun horse to ride when you know how to ride him correctly. And he's safe even when he does stuff, when he gets, you know, scared of the ponies. He gets a little fast, but, you know, he's not bucking, he's not running away, he's not rearing up, he's not a spinner. He doesn't do any of that crazy stuff. You know, not unless, well, any horse can do anything. I don't want to say that. So any horse can do anything if something really scares it. But I love him. He's a super safe horse. So, but the better you know what to do and the better you can ride them. Okay, so now we're headed home. So look, he's like, let's run home. I'm like, okay, because we're still a little bit away. Okay, so head up, back is inverted, but he's gaiting very well. Now he's getting a little hop step, so I'm going to slow it down, bring his head down just a little. Now he's better. Somebody's off on the left, so he's like, not going to spook you. They're doing something weird. He's still good. But remember, we're going uphill, so that helps us not be as pacey. Now my reins are short, but it's very light contact. I'm just hardly touching his mouth. Now he's trying to add a little canter step, so I'm going to raise my hand up. Now put them back down. If they do that canter step, hoppy step, you want to raise your hands up, but you don't want to stay up like this. You just want to correct it and put your hands back down. Because you're trying to make it the horse that is figuring it out, not that you have to hold them out of it the whole time. Now he's doing it again, so half halt. And he's doing it because he's getting tired, and he's like, I can do this easier, how about that? And I'm like, no, don't do that. Sorry, it's windy, so how much you can hear me. But again, you're trying to tell them they don't know what it feels like on their back. So he doesn't know when he's smooth or bouncy. He has no clue. They just try to do what's easiest. They always gait well going home. Okay, now it's starting to go downhill. Half halt, slow down. Bring his head down a little bit. And just go to a slower gait. Okay, now I like to walk a little bit, so we're going to stop here. Good boy. And we're going to walk the rest of the way. So overall, we're almost home. So overall, he did really, really well, because I don't know the last time he's been out here. And we're by ourselves, which is always scary. But he did great. He has very fun gaits, but this is what I do with a Pacey and Trotty horse, is warm them up and figure out where to put their head to help them and what speed to go. And then don't forget what you're doing. Again, if you get talking too much, you're going to go on a floppy rein, you're probably going to go one-handed, and you'll be talking to your friends, they'll speed up, and your horse won't gait well, and you're like, I hate this guy, he just doesn't gait. It's not his fault, you want to help him. Help him all the time, and the day will come you don't need to help him that much, and he will just do it, because he'll understand what you want, or she will understand what you want, and they'll be conditioned to do it. And horses are great because they like to please people. Not sure why, but they do, like dogs. And so if they figure it out and you reward them with rest and treats and attention and a good life, they'll do it for you the best they can. Okay? So try to put in some practice. Try to learn something new. And help your horse gait better. Because some of you guys have some gaited horses that you think aren't so good because they're trotting or pacing. And it's not them. It's just us not knowing what to do. And once you know what to do, oh, it gets so fun. So much fun, Mr. Nichols. Right? All right. Hope that helps.